do that. Okay. This is June 15th, 2015, and this is our cohort from Cincinnati, and it's also got a couple of folk from Arizona. So we have Eric with us, and Eric's been on the beach in California, so that's like, yeah, nice, very cool. So what we're going to be talking today about in the second session is assessments, and we're also going to be talking about the specification phase. So that's kind of how we're going to work. You guys have been really good, very conscientious about getting these assignments, and I really appreciate that. And as we walk through these assessments and we walk through some of the specification phase, just feel free to talk and join in, because this is to kind of help you get acquainted with the resources and what's available. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Leslie just arrived. Yay, Leslie. Glad you're here. So I'm going to ask you to put on your camera, if you would, when you get a chance. Okay. So, nice. Somebody else. Yay. Okay, very good. So the essential question is, what are the goals of assessment? And as we look through this, we saw that each person's goals and what they were trying to do and what they're trying to assess is going to be different compared to all of the other pieces. So each of you had a certain assessment to be looking at, and some of you didn't have any at all. Hi, Leslie. It's good to meet you. Good to see you. So we have the rubrics. There are rubrics that go along with the writing parts of the different parts of the assessments, and then there is the engineering notebook, checklist, individual evaluation rubrics, and project approval lists, and peer evaluation and self-assessment. So these are all parts of the curriculum, so they're all kind of in there. So we're just going to kind of get started with that, if that's okay. I want to see what you're seeing on the screen. I am going to put you over to the second screen. So this is kind of a rubric, and Moeller High School, I think Russ, I don't see Russ yet. So Veronica's there. Hi, Veronica. Glad you're here. So we'll just kind of get into this. Anybody want to go first? Because I pulled up all the documents, so anybody can go first.
I did the one Russ was going to do, the first one listed, because I didn't have one assigned.
Okay, good. Okay, so Leslie, which one were you going to do?
The rubric for the special needs interview sheet in the underserved members of the community 2.5.
Okay. Let me pull that up real quick. Okay, so there we go. So everybody see that document? Good.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So whenever you want to, Leslie, were you going to talk about that one? Or was Russ?
Yeah, I can talk about that one since Russ isn't here.
Thank you.
So basically this is a rubric that goes with Gate 2. And remember, in Gate 2, the students are getting a little bit more information on the stakeholders. So what they actually do, and I have this on my computer, but I don't have it on my iPad, is the kids actually interview one or two stakeholders for specific needs that the community group might have. So they ask them, some of the questions are pre-written for the students and some of them are not. So students write questions on accessibility, rituals in the community, and language, and then they're given questions on religious activities, leisurely activities, media in the community, and then kind of the culminating event of Gate 2 is that the students write a narrative explaining gaps in service for underrepresented members of the community. And so what you're looking at is the rubric for that write-up. They do an opening statement, so they're given a score on the opening statement. Then they have to give information on the demographics of the community, and you can kind of see if they have 3 or more pieces of evidence, they get the 4, and so on and so forth. And then the fewer pieces of evidence they have, the lower the score they get. They are also given with this score based on their grammar, so the sentence structure, that kind of thing, well constructed. And then the students also have to do a personal reflection. And so if they have 3 or more personal reflections based on the interview and all the information they gather during Gate 2, they get the 4, and then the fewer things they have, the lower their grade. I looked at the rubric initially and didn't really understand. It was like a little bit confusing, so I had to go into the lessons to see what they were actually doing.
Right.
And this is basically a narrative that they create after interviewing the stakeholders.
Sure. What they really do then is, I'm going to pull this over. This is the next lesson, because what they've done is they've kind of pulled their information together from an observation, and then they're going to extend it on further. And so they're refining the portrait of their subject here, and then they're refining the description of the environment, activity. So they're kind of taking it and kind of making it more, refining their information. So this is in 2-6. So this is another lesson that goes along with it. And again, if you find that this is too cumbersome, just don't do it. Take what you want out of this. If you find that you don't want them to do the writing and they want them to wait and do it all in 2-6, that's fine too. So whatever works for you is fine. But this is another part of that, and I think you're seeing that 2.6, correct, on there on the screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Leslie. Very good. So, any questions that you have about those rubrics? Let me pull that back up. So the rubrics are kind of very similar. We want them to, as they write, to write kind of in that, the way that the 6.1 or any of those writing traits, they need an opening statement, they're supporting with evidence, an example, sentence structure, and the reflection, so that they really are using quality writing techniques. So we're trying to think about that and trying to get them to write well, because they need to. They need to learn how to write. Any questions about that or any thoughts about that rubric? So there are rubrics all the way through there. All right. Shall we go on? Who wants to go next? Shall I just pull one up? Who lands? Project event identification. I don't see that, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I'll just go ahead and do this one if that's okay with y'all. At the end, the students evaluate themselves and their group on the project. And so this is an evaluation of them. And so what they do is they talk about what accomplishments they've done, all of the pieces that they were able to accomplish, and then the documentation that goes along with each one. And then what happened, what they did, the project activities that happened, and who was responsible for it. And then they give themselves a grade, and then this is also on here. So it's a document. So if you want to change this so they don't have grade, you can do that. You can change it as excellent, good, whatever works for you. So this is a document that you can use and you can adjust. But another part that I like is that they have to determine what their grade should be, then they have to defend it. And then there's a discussion that goes along with teachers. So this happens at the very end of a project. So it can be anywhere that works for you, but they are doing that themselves. Okay? So that's, I just pulled that one up. I guess it's not on there, but I thought it's important for you to know.
Dean, where did you find that? I'm on your.
I'm sorry.
I'm on the website.
If
Where
you
did you
go, it would be in like 416. Let me get into that real quick. It's at the end of 4, because 4 is where you're getting to the point where you're getting ready to deliver. And so it's like 416, something like that. And let me look. Be nice if I were right. Nope, too late. It's not it. So 413. It's in 413. Your self-assessment and project assessment. So 413 has the individual and the project evaluation rubric, individual evaluation rubric. So if I click that, again, I did it as a word. So there's the individual evaluation, which is very similar to the project evaluation. Okay?
Yep, found it.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. Holly, you guys want to take the engineering notebook?
Yes. To show you or me. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we've got the rubric for the engineering notebook, which I would imagine that could be in a composition notebook or also in like a binder, right, where they can put in say 3 whole lines. And looking through the different sections of it, that they have a table of contents, that they have it numbered and dated, so that accounts for their accountability, their responsibility that we talked about in the video. You know, again, the neatness issue that if you're a slob like me, you tear out pages, the stakeholder may not be so wanting to go with you. So having pride in the presentation. So all those, and then the daily entry content, making sure that the kids are, again, writing with descriptive voice, including everything they've been working on. From the research, from contact with stakeholders, calculations have to be clearly written if we're looking at money or size of the prototype, whatever it is that they're working on that day, and that they've included tables, charts, and graphs. And I know for middle school, for us, I still frequently have kids who have trouble telling the difference between a graph and a data table. We will go over it, and we'll do it all the time, and we'll talk about what it is, but they will still come back with a data table and call it a graph. So that's important to have that there. And then we've got discussion and collaboration. Let me go to here real quick. So like any questions that have been written down, what their project partners have come up with, any kind of collaboration. And I liked what Bill said, having the person who's recording what's going on at each meeting, and then being able to leave with what everybody is supposed to be working on next, so that you've got your action list.
Yeah.
And I like that, those items to leave with. So I think those could also probably be included in there at some point.
Okay.
Where you've got, after each day, here's what the action items were at the end of the day. So there's a nice way to show their efficacy during the work period.
Okay. Cool.
So that's all I got.
So
Anything else? I missed something?
anybody have any thoughts about this document?
How often would you grade this, use this?
Well, what I have seen, I've seen it done a couple ways. I've seen it done where it's done by semester, and I've seen it done where it's just done once a year, this extensively. But you could be looking at it any time. But if they know that there is this document, they're more likely to keep it up. So, and I don't know. There's a lot of conflict, and you know this too, about people not necessarily wanting or having to worry about their kids writing things down. But as you've seen and I've seen, that the students who are better at coming up with a quality project that has follow through, they have a complete artifact of their workshop, of their work. And that comes through training them, which helps, this document helps to train them on how to be concise. So I guess that's just, something to think about. But whatever works for you and your learning environment and with your kids it's your business. Because we just want to give you ideas and thoughts that will help your students and for you to come up with a quality product.
It seems like it's a good habit of mind thing, though, for them, regardless of whatever subject they're in. Mm-hmm. To keep that binder, keep it up to date, keep their test and quizzes. Because, there's always those kids, and I would have been one of those, who the day before the final was trying to scramble and find all their papers. But this is a way, I could see this to where I have certain kids turning this in on certain days of the week. Whether it's me, just a quick glance, numbers 1 through 5 are turning in their notebooks today or whatever. And it doesn't have to be a huge monumental thing, but it does keep them on their toes. To have like a real quick notebook check, almost like a pop quiz.
And I want to follow up with that. At Mount Notre Dame, we use Google Docs because our kids are 1-to-1.
Uh-huh.
So for me to real spot check notebooks like that wouldn't be that difficult because they're all digital.
Good.
So that's another way that you can look at it too. And when they go into industry or when they go to their jobs, they're going to have to learn how to keep things written down. So unfortunately, if they don't like to, it's part of life.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't any big deal. It's like, a check plus is always, a check is sometimes, and a check minus is rarely. And so the students and the teachers, figure it out. I mean, if you say rarely, yay, or, whatever. It's just an easy, it's not an A, B, C, whatever. It's just a check. You're just checking it. So.
And I know what I've done at Ursuline in the past. I usually do random notebook checks where I don't announce them, and that keeps them on their toes a lot too.
Okay.
But I like this checklist. I've never had a checklist before, so I think that would be useful for them to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When we saw you that one day, you had a notebook with you example. Mm-hmm. Is there any way legally that we could, I personally could see a copy of a couple of pages?
Right, and we've talked about this and we've been meaning to do it, we're meaning to scan it. So we're meaning to scan it. The problem is that we need to sit there, we've got to go through it and make sure that it doesn't have any reference to the child on it to be able to do it.
That's what I mean by it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's on the to-do list. But we felt like getting the middle school curriculum, the after-school curriculum, and the year-long up first was the most important thing. So now we're getting there. It's on that to-do or that honey-do list, right? So We're getting there. And I'll get it. I will. But, and again, the notebooks that we had were from Janet Membrino, who devised this. This is the checklist that she uses in her school at Xavier College Prep in Arizona. So this is what they use. But they have quality notebooks, really good notebooks. Okay. Anything else about checklists? All right, I'm going to go on. Let's see who else. See what else we have here. Rubric for the presentation. St. Ursula?
Yes. Basically, I talk more just generally about the rubric rather than just for the presentation. It's a guide really for the students to see what they're doing. I'll look off my notes rather than. So they're trying to determine if the project can progress beyond Gate 3. It's making sure that they meet the conceptual design specifications and tasks, determining both project group and individual contributions to the project. So it covers kind of all of these things. It prompts accountability for the student, so as they can look at this rubric, then they sort of know that they need to do these things. it gives both direct and indirect feedback to students. I don't know what I meant by that. But it is providing a summative assessment, basically. So it is allowing us as teachers something that we can actually grade on, which is rather important. How can it be used to measure the progress of your students' learning? It just gives us the specific steps. And it's versatile enough that we can adapt it the way that we want to. So we can get into it and change the criteria however we feel comfortable. I think it's nice to have something there so that you can then go in and change it. Let's see, the advantages was students like to see clarity and formalism in their assignments and what's expected of them. We've talked about the dangers of that too, them just going by the line of things, but I think as they get more involved in this process, they can interpret it more widely. Feedback on the most pertinent aspect of the conceptual design process. It works on their presentation, awareness of team dynamics, and focuses on solving the problem, not getting the grade. I think those are things. The only thing I thought about, because it asked whether we saw some alternative, and I was just thinking about, one of the things that I didn't see in this was just an approach to looking at the science or the engineering or the mechanics of actually what's going on. I almost want them to, relay that back to me so that they understand, some of the real technical aspects that they might come up against or that they're actually working with at this stage. And that was one thing that I sort of saw missing in this, or maybe I just didn't explore it far enough. Maybe you can give me feedback on that.
You're exactly right. And the reason that and that's your content, is that we don't know what content it's gonna entail. If you've got a project that uses a lot of physics, that would be where you're going to put it in yourself. So this is just basically a design process. So you could very easily take this and enter and put in content. So you could very easily do that, because that's something we don't know. I don't know what your project is going to do. But again, though, you've got your and your technical, So this is where, you're going to get into that with each thing, and you could use this definitely by putting in your content. But
you have it has in there that used, and I read up a little bit and went to the flip snack thing. I don't know. It didn't rub me the right way, but I don't know. Do people use that? How do you use that? Yeah.
Well, what's nice about the flip stack is that you can take the kids' documents and they can put it into a PDF, and then they can link it, or it becomes a web page. So that's one of the reasons why I thought it was good, as far as being able to have their document as a web page, and they can instantly find everything. So it's more of pulling that together, but you don't have to do it again. Yeah, it's just one of those things that, as far as having artifacts and having all in one place and having it so that everybody could see it, man, that's it. It really does have everything right there. So, and again, another reason I like it is because it's free. So I like free. So, but I would put your content in here, honestly. This is where it would be a good place. In three, like with 3, you would be talking about the testing that you've done. So this would be a good place where you could be, like this one with 3, the testing and what elements of, say, physics or the environmental piece. And you'd have to decide where you'd want that content to come in, and you probably have the content all the way through. So that's what you'd pull up and you'd do yourself. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Any other questions about those rubrics or those rubrics on the GATE?
Some of
Mhm.
Going back to content, do you know if some of your middle schools and high schools, are they doing these projects but also giving traditional tests and quizzes over to address the content, or is just this the grade?
No, they definitely are. They definitely are. Yeah. And I use Xavier College Prep because I know more about them than most, and they definitely do that. But also our middle schools in Broward County, they definitely pull in, their content that goes along with whatever they're working on. So they do have that. But it makes sense to do it that way, that you would bring in all of those pieces, not only the engineering, but the content that goes along with it and your quizzes. Because you know as well as I do that they're not going to know everything they're going to need to know to be able to do the project. So that's where you bring in the skills and the standards and all of those things that you're learning or they're learning and you're teaching in their classrooms, in your classroom. So definitely. But again, that would probably be your tests and quizzes that would go into this, kind of melded in. If anybody has another suggestion about that I'm all for it. Okay. You guys are quiet. All right. Okay, we'll keep moving. Okay. Project approval checklist. 315. That's
Mine.
that's Michelle, I think.
Yes, it is mine.
Okay.
This is students have finished up that phase where, that detailed design phase, the conceptual design phase, and they're getting ready to go into the detailed design phase. So before you really let them go and let them kind of really commit to a project, this is kind of a checklist to make sure that everybody is on board, both the team, the teacher, and then whoever the project partner is. So this goes over some specific tasks that the team has had to accomplish to make sure that before we spend this money or spend this time to do this project, that it's met the specifications that were set out in the beginning. So in the beginning phase when they had to identify it, really made sure that they have talked to their stakeholders and gone back and really seen, made sure the project fits them.
Yeah. So these GATE checklists come in on 2, 3, and 4. So the checklists are all the way through on those different gates. So that so you wouldn't get to 4 and they have no idea what they're doing. It would always be where they have had to talk to their teacher and talk to their project partner and have it signed off. So that
right. And I don't think that, we haven't done any projects where they're really dealing with a lot of stakeholders, but I found this extremely helpful for that, usually I have students turn in their project ideas and then I'll go over and approve them or not, but this is very specific and it makes sure that everybody is on board before we actually spend the time so we don't say, whoops, that wasn't what we wanted.
Yes, very good. Yeah, so I'm a very concrete sequential type person, so I like to have an idea of what's going to happen as we go along. So, anybody else have any thoughts about this project the GATE checklist? So it just kind of goes along with it, and
I think we talked at our meeting about this. Does each individual group talk to the stakeholders, or does the stakeholders just talk to the whole class?
Well, it kind of depends on if you have one stakeholder and you're working with only one for the whole, everybody's working with that one, you would only have one liaison. You would have a project liaison that would work with and talk with that person. But if you have 3 different projects going on, you probably would have one liaison with one community partner or project partner. Does that make sense?
No, sorry.
Okay. So if say you're doing like our nanotechnology, in my team, I'm just using my LSME team, we had 3 different projects going on. And so in each one of those projects, we had a team leader, and then we also had a liaison that went and talked and kept talking with them and giving them updates, so that only one person was contacting that stakeholder or the project partner, so that that person didn't get overrun with emails all the time. So that person then came back to the project lead, making sure that everyone knew what was going on, so that so there's one point of contact.
Jean?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, if we're doing something like that, I will have the kids, like there's one stakeholder, but I will still form little miniature engineering companies all trying to solve the same problem.
Okay.
But then at the end have the stakeholder show, to put that part of preference in there, that sometimes the stakeholder can be swayed by a lot of things that the kids didn't think about, the persuasiveness of the presentation or whatever. Would you suggest then that, and I get what you mean about not inundating our stakeholder with 50,000 emails, but maybe all of the people who are liaisons could work together and rotate when they were sending out questions to the liaison. Would that work too?
Oh, I think that would be perfect. That would be great. Okay. It's just we want to make sure that they don't get asked the same thing over and over again, nor do
exactly. Don't aggravate.
Yeah, we don't want to we don't want to aggravate them. We want their help, and we want them to have a good experience with us. So we don't want to. What was sometimes happening again with my group is that they weren't keeping me in the loop, and so they were doing this talking with them, or they weren't talking with them, and then we were getting down to like 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the end of the term. And the project partner would email me and say, I haven't heard anything. Then I'm like, okay, y'all, what is going on here? You got to help me. So making sure that your kids know to keep you in the loop, your project liaison keeps your project, the overarching project lead and the team lead in these emails, or anybody else. So like if Holly, you were doing like 4 groups working on the same project, keeping the liaison with each one of those different projects in the loop. And that's very easy to do with email.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, it could be done any way. It's just making sure that we don't duplicate, everybody's in the loop, and that we don't aggravate the project partner.
Bless you.
Yeah, we don't want to aggravate them. Okay. All right, keep it moving here. I think we got peer evaluation. I'm not finding it, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Let me find it. Peer evaluation is Sycamore. You got anybody from there? Well, then I will do it. And what the peer evaluation is a way for the students to be, as they are doing their gates, the peer evaluation is, and it's at the end of each gate, it's a way for them to reflect on how they presented the material for the gate. So the content, the information was accurate, so they're just giving a basic overview of it. So it's just a way for the students to get feedback from their peers, and also to teach the kids and a lesson of how to give constructive feedback, good, constructive, critical feedback that isn't personal. So we want them to be looking at how we can improve the project and for them not to take it personally.
Is this a whole class evaluation or peer review, or is it just within their groups?
And that's going to be totally up to you. I don't know that you're going to have time. Everybody's going to, what I see is probably each team is going to be going through the gates at a different time. I can't imagine that you would have 5 projects where everyone is going through from gate 2 to gate 3, from gate 3 to gate 4 at the same time. So my
Right.
assumption is that you probably maybe doing it at the end, design review, or you might be doing it maybe 2 groups at the same time. So I'm not sure how it will work for you when you get into this. Does that make sense? I don't know if that was Michelle or Monica, or maybe talking.
It was Selena.
Oh, Selena, sorry.
That's okay.
So, Selena, how do you see it might happen in your...
I would think that it would be more based on the groups, just because of what you said. You don't know where everybody's going to be at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
each group's going to be at different points.
mm-hmm. I see that. One of the other things that I'm working on writing is through Arizona State University. They have an entrepreneurial piece of EPICS, and I really like it. And I was talking to the man who teaches it, and we're working on another phase of EPICS that would have a whole unit about how to present the projects and to the community to get grant money, to get resources. So that's another part of this that will, when the kids are doing this kind of thing, it will really help them to develop those skills to be able to present and talk to adults and talk to each other. So they're practicing on each other. So that's my thought. Okay. Any thoughts about that? Okay. Kind of moving along here so we don't run completely out of time. And I think I went through the self-assessment and the individual rubric. I already went through that, I think. KILLS, I guess the individual evaluation rubric, is that the one? Is everybody presented? The assessments? I think we have everything. Yes? Okay.
I didn't present anything, but I wasn't assigned anything, so.
Okay. Well, those are basically it. I wanted to get the highlights of it and how they're kind of built throughout. And 413 and at the end of 4 is where you have a lot of the evaluations that happen for the whole project. So at the end of 4. But I also wanted to make sure that we spend a little bit of time on the specifications phase. Okay? All right, I'm going to go back and get that a little bit. Yeah, got all this junk up here. Again, as you're getting ready and you're doing this, the best place to look for anything as kind of your cheat sheet is in the gates. And so gate 2, since we're kind of going through that, the specification. The main part of this process is for the students to have taken their information about their community, they're figuring out what the problems are, and then they're starting to break it down into smaller parts so that they can create a project. One of the other things that they're doing is that they are developing personas and scenarios so that the students can kind of have a personality that they're working with to develop it, and also a scenario so that they know the context of how this person is working through. This persona and the scenario, this 2-7, they're going to use throughout the rest of the project. So as they develop, it's a kind of a living document, just like your Gantt and the PER chart are. They're living documents, so they continue to evolve. Another part of this that I think is an essential part is the benchmarking of prior art, which is state-of-the-art, so that they can see what's out there already and why what they're going to do is going to be more beneficial than using what's already on the market. So it's important for them to examine what other possibilities are out there and looking at cost to see if what they're going to do is cost effective, and if there's something they can do that if you can buy it off the shelf, why make it? So trying to get the kids to really look at why is this an important piece. Another one, this is really important, is measurable specifications. Can they determine if this specification or this part of the project can be made? Can they do it? Is it a possibility? Is it what ranges? Is it measurable? So these are the specifications, trying to figure out how they can create something and what the parts are of this, so that they can test it to see if it really works. The next part is taking each piece and breaking it down into what it does, so they can figure out, and it's really breaking down the project into the smallest of parts. So I used this with the notebook or the backpack. So the whole point is to carry their books and possessions, why to organize it, what it looks cool, and easy functionality. And then from here, they would break it on down into further into organizing. Would they have file folders in their backpack? In the file folders, what is the materials they would use? I mean, so you see how it would break down even further? So they're just going to break it down. And this is one of the hardest things, the functional decomposition. Do you use functional decomposition in what you've done already? It's one of those kind of I find it to be a non-concrete piece. But again, the functional decomposition, and we'll talk more about that. We need to, and as you get into this with your kids, there is a piece of the teacher toolbox that talks about it a little further. And you may not want to use it. It's pretty. They really have to break it down. They have to really think about it. And then there's specifications, breaking it down in the PERT and Gantt chart, which is another part of, so that they can figure out how they're going to get it finished, completed, and how it would work through in a way that it can be accomplished. So again, they're looking at those PERT chart at the end of 1, and the Gantt chart, and they're also looking at it again, a revision of it into 2. So, and honestly, this is something that I'm really going to work back on with my my college kids, because they're not very good about staying focused, and then they get to the end and they don't have it done. So I'm going to really be, I guess I assumed that 19, 20-year-olds would have more being able to pull things together and be more organized than they are. So I'm going to really be bugging them next semester. And so there's their Gantt chart, and then it just has a summary of what they're going to be doing. So they've learned about their culture, they've learned about their traditions, the demographics, they pulled all that together, they've identified the right need, and they're trying to bring it down into something that's really, that will really work for the community and the project partner, and that there is no already commercial product or service that it could be used. And they're summarizing their standards of living, the accessibility, the educational pieces of it, and explaining how they're going to move to the next phase. So they're really getting what their specifications are, what they're thinking about will happen with a prototype, and then they're getting ready to really design it. They create one, I think, in this one. So they create a prototype here. And I think it's 255 is when they create a prototype, basic prototype. Okay? Questions? Okay, Chuck, no problem. Thanks. Bye. Any questions? I just feel like I talk too much. And this is a time for you to be talking with each other and kind of helping each other. And I just want to make sure that I don't just kind of dominate it.
Is this project a whole? I mean, I keep getting the feeling that looking at some of these scenarios that it takes weeks and weeks and weeks. Will it take weeks? I mean, I'm worried about getting other things in.
Okay. Like, how are you going to frame your work, your program? Are you going to try to do it as integrated into your existing class?
Yes.
Is it a standalone engineering class?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have a whole year of engineering class.
Okay. Okay.
So I think I see it working perfectly. So, I think I could do it where it's just going to happen from start to finish. I don't have to piece it together.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Everybody's going to have to work on it, whatever fits for them. And if it, I've seen it happen so many different ways. It's hard to say that it exactly this is what happens. But like what I see is that when the kids they'll have to do it outside of class a lot of times. There is no way that you can do everything in class. I don't see where that could even happen. But again, you will figure out which pieces can I use, which pieces can't I use. And who was saying? I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. So what we're trying to do again is just give you tools so
right.
that you can use these tools. Again, if the tool doesn't work, throw it out. No tool is worth everything. So you just try to figure out what will be the best way of pulling it all together. And again, like Mike, I know that you're probably into materials and you need to be getting all of these other pieces of engineering that, like careers and so forth. There is a lesson on careers, but it may not be your total focus. So I know you'll figure it out and how it works with what you're doing. And that's what we're seeing also. We see that this is dovetailing into Project Lead the Way also. So we do see a lot of that where this is more of a capstone for Project Lead the Way. You're doing this more of a capstone for Project Lead the Way?
Yeah.
Yes. We've seen that. Yes. We've seen that.
Getting feedback.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know where we're getting it. All right, if you guys, let me see. I'm gonna try something here. Now, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. What I think we're going to do is hi there, Miss Scott. It's good to see you. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of leave this. We're going to go on, and next week we're going to be looking at 3. In the 3rd session, we're going to be looking at the conceptual design and detailed design. So we're looking at the design process and how the design process works. And I don't think there's assignments. Let's see, making sure I do that. Human-centered design on session 2, conceptual design, and the design cycle. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be working on. Also, remember to continue to look at your how you're going to implement it and your implementation plan. So you're kind of deciding how this might work, and we'd spent some more time on that last week than we've got today. So just kind of thinking about how it would work in your groups, how it would work in your projects and in your schools. Okay. Any other questions? If you do, I'm going to take off your. I've muted. I'm going to take off your.
Unmuted.
Okay. All right. Well, that's. If you have questions, let me know. and then we'll go from there. Email me. Don't forget to, I'm not a problem with emailing me. Also, if you need my cell phone, if you call, some of you were calling my office. I'm on baby watch. Our daughter is I think she's going to have that baby this week. So I'm in Indianapolis, and I'm not even going up to Lafayette this week at all. So if you need to get a hold of me, I'll put my phone number in my chat down here. So here you go. So there it is. So you can have my cell phone number. If you need anything, let me know. Okay? Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, take it easy.
Thank
All right, take it easy.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.